Hello students, today we are going to discuss polarization, second part of it. Before that, in order to understand today's class, let's go back to the previous class and try to understand what happened in the previous class. In the previous class, we discussed about polarization. It has electric field vectors which need to be filtered out before using a Polaroid. Okay, so using a Polaroid is one of the method of making an unpolarized light a polarized light. Okay, and there are two more methods where we can see some polarization happening. The two methods are, which we are going to discuss now. First method is using Polaroid, and the next method which we are going to discuss now is polarization due to reflection. Now this was Malus, the scientist Malus in the year 1808. He found that the light which are getting reflected. Now just imagine that this is a medium and this is air. So this is some medium, let us say medium, and this is your light which is going to strike the medium. We know that part of the light does gets reflected back and a part of the light gets refracted in the second medium. So what Malus observed in the year 1808 that the light which is getting reflected, this one, is partially polarized. But when you change this angle of incidence, then at one particular angle it becomes completely polarized. Okay? Completely polarized means there will be only one vibration. Direction of vibration will be only in one direction. And partially polarized means it is able to filter out some of the vibrations but not all. And in partially polarized light, vibrations can be more than one. Okay, that is called partially polarized light. But if it is completely polarized light, that means the vibration will be restricted to only one direction. That was observed by Malus, and he also observed a very interesting thing. So suppose if I consider that this is my vibration and I am using a dot over here. This dot has become very important now. Dot means vibration taking place in this direction. Okay. So at that particular angle, let me call that angle as IP. At that particular angle, when the reflected ray becomes completely polarized, the vibration is only in a direction perpendicular to the plane of incidence. Okay. So if this is the plane in which the incident ray lies, okay, the board is a plane in which the incident ray lies, then after reflection at an angle called polarizing angle, when it becomes completely polarized, only that vibration is found which is perpendicular to this plane. This is very important part. Whereas the refracted ray remains partially polarized. I mean, you can find this also, you can find this also. We are not concerned more about the refracted ray, but yes, the reflected one becomes polarized. Later, a scientist called Brewster, he found a working formula for this phenomena, and he proposed that there is a very simple relation between the refractive index mu. So if I consider that this is air, so mu is the refractive index of medium with respect to air, because air has a refractive index of 1. So let us say the medium has a refractive index of mu. So Brewster proposed that it has a very simple relation given by the formula 10 of IP, that means 10 of I of polarizing angle of incidence. This is angle of incidence, but since the light is getting polarized, so it is also called as polarizing angle. And this is equal to mu. This formula was proposed by a scientist called Brewster, and hence it is called Brewster's law. This is called Brewster's law. This is one thing about Brewster's law. Second thing, what we say that it is also been found that now if this is angle of if this is the reflected ray, definitely this angle will be also equal to IP. And let us say this is the ray R. And it is also found that this angle, the angle between the reflected ray and the refracted ray, not for all angles, only when it is the polarizing angle, only when this ray is getting completely polarized. When that happens, when this is IP IP, then the angle between the reflected ray and the refracted ray is 90 degree. So at polarizing angle, IP, reflected ray and refracted ray makes an angle of 90 degree. So if I use this relationship over here, I can write that IP plus 90 plus R. Look at this. This is IP plus 90 plus R. That means the whole angle from here to here, that is equal to 180 degree. And this gives me a relation IP plus R. Take 90 on that side. 180 minus 90 is 90. So IP plus R is equal to 90. Based on these two formulas, questions are asked. Numerical questions are asked. Also, since it is proposed by Brewster, so this polarizing angle is also called Brewster angle. This IP is also known as Brewster's angle. Okay? So this is the theory so far. And don't forget the vibration here will be in the direction perpendicular to the plane of incidence. Okay? Now with this, we are going to prove two things, and I am going to use this diagram over here. I am going to prove the Brewster's law. So please take a note of this introduction part, and then I am going forward. So moving ahead, the first question is prove Brewster's law. That means you have to prove 10 IP equals to mu. And I'm going to derive a general formula first. So let me call this as mu1. So this is one medium, and this is another medium called mu. Now in proving Brewster's law, we are going to use this example which says IP plus R is equal to 90 degree. This we are going to use. Okay. Let me call this as equation 1, not this. So R is equal to 90 minus IP. I am calling this as equation 1. Alright. Now using Snell's law. Now this is angle of incidence is IP, angle of reflection is R. And this is refractive index mu1, this is refractive index mu2. So using Snell's law, mu1 into sine IP equals to mu2 times of sine R. Or simply you can write sine IP divided by sine R is equal to mu2 divided by mu1. Alright? Now, second step I can write as sine IP divided by sine. How I can write R? I can write R as 90 minus IP. So I can write here as 90 minus IP equals to mu2 divided by mu1, and here you can write using equation 1. Alright. Now what is sine 90 minus IP? So this employs sine 90 minus IP is cos IP. So what you will get? You will get sine IP divided by cos IP equals to mu2 divided by mu1. Now if let us say your mu2 is equal to mu and mu1 is equal to 1, that means air medium, and sine IP by cos IP is 10 IP, so 10 IP is equal to mu, and hence we say that we have proved the Brewster's law. Okay, this generally comes for 2 to 3 marks. If it is 3 marks, diagram is compulsory. Always prefer to draw the diagram, always, whether it is compulsory or not. Draw the diagram so that you don't get deviated from your derivation. A good diagram always helps you to derive the formula. Okay, take a note of this, and then we are going for the second proof. Okay, moving ahead. Second proof is this. Prove that, okay, I will not the entire thing. Prove that angle between refracted ray and reflected ray is 90 degree. So in this way, in this derivation, we are going to use 10 IP equals to mu. Okay, and in this derivation, we will consider this to be air and this to be mu, and I will consider this angle to be a x now, which I don't know, but I am going to use this formula. This implies, this I can write as sin IP divided by cos IP equals to mu, and I will call this as equation 1. This is my Brewster's law. Okay, and now come to the diagram. From the diagram, we can see that IP plus x plus r is equal to 180 degree. So x is equal to 180 minus IP plus r. Okay, this is my equation 2. Now, using Snell's law, we can write sin IP divided by sine of r is equal to mu. This is my Snell's law. Okay. Also, consider what you call consider that this as equation 3. Now, if you see equation 3 and equation 1, and if you compare the right hand side is mu and mu. So, since equation 3 is equal to equation 1, that is RHS is same, that is RHS is same. So, what we get? We get over here, this is mu, this is also mu, that means this ratio and this ratio will be same. So what I will get? I will get sin IP divided by sin r is equal to sin IP divided by cos IP. Now sin IP and sin IP will get cancelled out. So what will I get? I will get cos IP is equal to sin of r. And cos I can now write as in terms of sin. That is 90 minus IP. I can write cos as sin 90 minus IP is equal to sin of r. Then sin goes out, so you will get 90 minus IP equals to r, and then 90 will be equal to IP plus r. Consider that as equation 4. Okay. Now put equation 4 in. This is equation 2. So put equation 4 in equation 2. If you put that, what will you get? X is equal to 180 minus IP plus R is how much? IP plus R is 90. So you will put here as 90. And that is equal to 90. Hence, proved. Okay. And here, since you are using a variable x over here, so here in the beginning only you write, let us say x is the angle between reflected and refracted ray. Okay. And now, since now you are putting x equal to 90, and that proves our equation, that the angle between reflected ray and refracted ray is 90 degree. Okay, take a note of this, and then after that we will be doing some small numericals. Take a note of this. Okay, moving ahead with some numericals. After numerical, I will give you a brief idea on the third way of polarization. Okay, but that I will do after numericals. So first one is find the Brewster angle if the refractive index of glass is given by √3. The first question says find the Brewster angle, that is the angle of projection, if the refractive index is √3, and that has a very simple solution. We know that tan IP is equal to mu, so tan IP is equal to √3, and that means IP is equal to 60 degree. Done. Question number 2. In question number 2, it says find the Brewster angle if the angle of refraction is 30 degree. So find the Brewster angle if the angle of refraction is 30 degree. Given, you have to find this. Now we know that IP plus R is equal to 90 degree. So what is the value of IP? IP will be equal to 90 minus R, that is 90 minus 30, and that answer is 60 degree. That is the second question. Then question number 3 says in the above question, how will you find the refractive index? So I have to find the refractive index. So you have to find the refractive index. Now I have found the value of IP. So tan IP means tan 60 degree is equal to mu, and hence √3 is equal to mu. And this is also done. Okay, so this Brewster angle questions are very simple, very simple. Okay, if you get it, it is a time for celebration. Okay, you will get full marks in this. Now comes some question based on Malus law. And if you do remember the Malus law formula says I is equal to I naught cos square theta. Please remember one thing. What is I naught? Intensity of polarized light. Intensity of incident polarized light. If you have understood properly what is I naught, then only we can do questions based on this. So I will keep up on the question number 4. I will keep it very simple. Question number 4 says like this. This is question number 4. It says that there is a polarized light. This is my polarized light, and this polarized light is falling on a Polaroid such that with the direction of vibration it makes an angle of 30 degree. When the light passes through this, how much is the intensity of light? Now remember, if the pass axis is inclined over here, this is very important. If the pass axis is inclined like this, what is going to come out will also have a vibration parallel to the pass axis. So after coming out, it will have a vibration like this. But how much is the I? Now this is polarized light, so that justifies here that it has to be a polarized light. Okay, sorry. This polarized light has an intensity of I naught. So polarized light, yes, it is a polarized light. Is it an incident light? Yes, it is an incident light on the Polaroid. Okay, so this is also satisfied. So now we will use the formula I equals to I naught cos square theta. What is theta? Theta is the angle between plane of vibration and the pass axis. Okay, so that makes an angle of 30 degree. So I will be equal to I naught cos square 30. And what is cos 30? Cos 30 is √3 by 2. So this will be equal to I naught √3 by 2 the square, because it is a square function, and that will give you the value of I naught 3 by 4, or just simply 3 I naught by 4. That is your final answer. So that means we have found the answer for this. So this is equal to 3 I naught by 4. Okay, that's question number 4 for today's. Then we will go for question number 5. Take a note of that. You can pause the video and you can take a note of that. In question number 5, this you have to listen very carefully. In question number 5, this is a polarized light. It is a polarized light. Okay, and then you have the first Polaroid over here, which is making with the direction of vibration an angle of 30 degree, and then you have another Polaroid, and this makes an angle of 60 degree with this plane of vibration. Now here there is a catch over here. first figure out the formula. Formula says intensity of incident polarized light. So is this a polarized light? Yes, it is a polarized light. Is it incident on this polaroid? Yes. So let us say the one which comes out is I dash. So what is I dash? I dash will be is equal to I naught, the incident polarized light, multiplied by cos square theta. So that is equal to I naught cos 30, cos square 30. And that, as per that thing, cos 30 is root 3 by 2. So I will write here as root 3 by 2 the whole square, and that will give you 3 I naught by 4. That means this I dash is equal to 3 I naught by 4. And how this will be vibrating? This will be vibrating in this direction. It will make an angle of 60 degree. Sorry, it will make an angle of 30 degree. Now remember one thing very carefully. Look at this angle, 60 degree. 60 degree is with respect to the vertical, correct? This is again a polarized light which is incident on this Polaroid, and let us say what comes out is I. Correct? So for the second Polaroid, when I want to use the Malus law, my I dash is my I dash is the polarized light for the second one. Okay? So for each time when it passes through a Polaroid, each time we have to look for its incident polarized light intensity over here, and then multiplied by cos square theta. And in this case, the theta is not 60 degree. Now remember, after when it has passed through the first polarizer, it is in this direction. That means it is making an angle of 30 degree. So if this is 30 and this is 60, so what is the angle between these two? So this was vertical, this is 30. And then you have a pass axis which makes an angle of 60. So what is the angle here? This angle will be 30, which is equal to 60 minus 30, correct? So in the second case, again you have to put the value of theta as 30, not 60. Okay? Remember this. This is the I dash one. Okay, and this is the pass axis for the second polarizer, this one. So that angle has to be 30 degrees. So what is I dash? I dash is equal to 3 I naught by 4 cos square 30, and that is equal to 3 I naught by 4 root 3 by 2 the whole square, and that is equal to 9 I naught by, this is 4, 4, 4 is 16. So this is your final answer. Okay? That's question number 5. Take a note of this, and then we are going. In question number 6, we are going to use an unpolarized light. So this is my unpolarized light, and then I have my first pass axis over here, such that this makes an angle of 30 degrees. Okay, and then I have another Polaroid over here, which I have kept it vertical, and this unpolarized light has an intensity of I naught. Now remember, if it is unpolarized light, we cannot use the concept of Malus law, but we use a note which says that when unpolarized light passes through a Polaroid, intensity becomes half of incident intensity. Okay, that means the intensity over here I will write, let me call this as I dash. So this I can now write as I naught by 2. Okay, so in this case I dash is equal to I naught by 2. Fine. Now, is this light polarized? Yes. I dash is equal to I naught by 2. Is this light polarized when it comes out from the first Polaroid? Yes. And what is the direction of vibration? Direction of vibration will be this, at an angle of 30 degree with the vertical. Whenever it comes out, it should be parallel to the pass axis. How is your path axis for the second Polaroid? For the second Polaroid, path axis makes an angle of 30 degrees. So you have to take a component over here. Okay, this one, which will be parallel to the Polaroid over here. So when it comes out from here, it will have a vibration in this direction. And what is the angle theta? Theta is now equal to 30 degrees. I am going to use Malus law for this case now because it is a polarized light and it has an intensity, incident intensity as I naught by 2. So for the second Polaroid, using Malus law, say that this intensity is I. So I will be equal to I naught by 2. Okay, I will write like this: I dash cos square theta, and I will be equal to, what is I dash? I dash is equal to I naught by 2 cos square theta. Theta is how much? Theta is 30 degree, and this is equal to, this implies I will be equal to I naught by 2 root 3 by 2 the whole square, and that is equal to 3 I naught by 8, because 2 square is 4 and then 4 2s are 8, and 3 I naught by 8 is your final answer. Okay, take a note, and then we are going to see the last part, that is the scattering part. The third way of polarizing a light. This is a small tree, they may ask, may not ask, just know it and that's it. You have to just know it. Okay. I will draw a diagram which will make it very clear to you. So the last topic is polarization due to scattering. So say that this is the ray coming from sun, and we know that from the sun when the ray comes out it is unpolarized. Okay, it is unpolarized. Now, as the ray comes from the sun, it will enter the Earth's atmosphere, and in the Earth's atmosphere, you know the atmosphere has some molecules, micromolecules, okay, and there are many molecules in the atmosphere. So, if it encounters a molecule whose size is comparable to the wavelength of incident light, okay, then scattering takes place. So, and it scatters in all directions. So, this is a molecule. The light which goes straight after scattering, this still remains unpolarized. This still remains unpolarized. The one which goes in some direction, this becomes partially polarized. So this is unpolarized. Which goes straight, this is partially polarized. And the one which scatters at an angle of 90 degree from the direction of incident ray, the one which scatters exactly 90 degree, this becomes polarized. Okay? So this is polarized. The one which is vibrating like this one, which I have tried to draw. Okay? If this is my molecule, then the one which is vibrating like this. This one, after polarization, this one remains over here. I mean, this one. Okay, that's too much of detail, but you can skip those things. So just know that which light is polarized. That much only you have to know. The light which is scattered at an angle of 90 degree from the direction of incident ray. that light is completely polarized. At any other angle it is partially polarized, and the one which goes straight remains unpolarized. Okay, so this is a photographic trick if you are interested. Just see from where the sun is coming, from where the rays of sun are coming, and try to take a picture in such a way that you are holding the camera perpendicular to the incident ray. You will get a very clear picture, okay, and it won't have any blurriness in it. That's a good photographic trick. Last thing which I want you to, so that you can just get interested in this part, is the concept of 3D pictures. Okay, how do these 3D pictures are created? Okay, so basically what happens, suppose if I have an object over here. Now, when I see it's a two-dimensional picture, how will I create a three-dimensional effect? Three-dimensional effect means there should be one camera over here which is recording a two-dimensional object. There is one camera over here, there is one camera over here. With this camera and this camera and this camera, if I somehow overlap these three images, I get a three-dimensional picture. Okay, you feel like it's a three-dimensional picture. So what do they do? This camera, for the same object, if it is this camera, let us say when this is recording, the front camera, if it is recording, let us say it is recording with this vibration. Okay, so this has a Polaroid in it, which has a pass axis like this, so it is recording the vibrations. It is recording the same picture, but the electric field vibrations are in this direction. This one is recording with this vibration. This one also is recording with this vibration. Correct? Now, here is the catch. All these three are superimposed now. So if you have gone through a movie theater, you generally they give a glass to wear. With one, I forgot the two colored glasses they give. Now with these two colored glasses, this eye, if it is recording this vibration, this one is able to make you see this vibration. And these two images are superimposed in your brain, creating a three-dimensional effect. So this is how the 3D picture works. So with this, I end the lecture on polarization. Hope that you will follow the classes and you will make a proper note. Thank you for watching.